Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about the very first steps in writing your dissertation and in fact how you get started with your dissertation. So what I'll talk about in this video is what you might want to think about as you pick your topic and what you should perhaps do before you have the very first meeting with your supervisor. Well, the main thing to do, and in fact the hardest thing to do, is actually just pick the topic of your dissertation. And you shouldn't perhaps let someone tell you the topic of your dissertation. You have to pick what you genuinely think is an interesting topic, something you're happy and comfortable to write about, and perhaps something which reflects the area of employment that you want to take yourself toward. For example, if you want a career in finance, writing your way through a finance topic is a good way to show employers that you're serious in this area, that you've done a little bit of extra study, and it's a good talking point if you go for a job interview. The first thing that you really need to think about is the relevance of the topic. You need to be working around an area where you can ask a question and the answer isn't too obvious. So, if you want to write a dissertation on how a corporate bond's priced, it's not a particularly brilliant question because you straight away just go into bond pricing literature and there's a very good answer to this straight away. Also, that would be a very hard topic to do anything innovative with. On the other hand, some topics are far too simple. So if you asked as your research topic, why do people buy cryptocurrency? That's perhaps a little bit too broad, a little bit too open ended, and you wouldn't be able to write in any detail on this. So you need to find that happy middle ground, something that's interesting and a little bit precise, but not too precise. We'll look at some examples in a few moments of what I mean by this. You should also be sure you pick something that's within your limit and within your comfort zone. So if you're a business student or an economics student, you should not be writing your degree about physics or about nursing. That's completely silly and you'll push yourself way too far because you don't know the literature, you don't know the theory, and there's a difference between starting from square one and starting from square minus 100. What you'll have to do is make a very initial search of the literature to find out what other people have written about, what topics might be interesting, how deep the topic is. Is it deep enough or is it too deep? Because you need to work in an area where the answer is not obvious. The topic is not so obvious in a single book you can find everything you need to know. But on the other hand, if so little is known about your topic that no papers talk about it, no books talk about it, you've got nothing to go on. You need to be in this happy medium. And to find that happy medium, you need to start very cursorily reading through academic level sources. So this is peer-reviewed journals that you'll find via the library search, grey material, such as professional journals, corporate reports. Books are often a very good source. You can find more recent books as ebooks through the library search, older books you'll find in print. So you need to know, do I actually have enough material that I can start the dissertation and write a proper literature review? We do this by making a cursory literature review. And I think before you decide your topic and set it in stone and agree it with your supervisor, it's very good to just make that initial search. You spend a couple of hours on Google Scholar, on the library search, and just make sure your topic is viable and you can operationalize it so you can just sit down and write that dissertation. In an ideal world, once you've done that initial literature search, you should be starting to refine what do you want to do in your dissertation? What are you going to write on? And very ideally, before you meet your supervisor for the first time, you'll come to him or her with a very brief proposal. And that proposal will always have two things at the top. That's the research question and the research objectives. The question comes first, it's the most general description of your project. It shows, in general, what do you seek to explain or explore? We always phrase this as a question. And here I can tell you a secret. I've supervised many dissertation students in my time. Quite a few students come to me and say, "Sir, my research question is digital marketing in Sainsbury's." And at that point, I start breathing very heavily. I grip the arms of the chair. I say, no, 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 that's not a research question. A better research question would be, how do UK supermarkets employ digital marketing techniques to increase revenue? That would be a research question. Firstly, it's phrased as a question. Secondly, it has that little bit more detail. How do they use digital marketing techniques to raise revenue? You'll notice I didn't say Sainsbury's, I said UK supermarkets. That broadens the topic out so that I can discuss Morrison's, Asda, Tesco's as well. That means there'll be more literature that I can find. Especially as in a very short project, you're not going to do primary research. You won't have time. So the more you can pull from secondary sources, the better. And if I say UK supermarkets, I'm now in the realm of data I can get from Bloomberg or Statista. So even though I'm at the beginning of the project, I've got very forward vision. With that forward vision, I'm going to now set out my research objectives. I will always have more than one research objective. Most decent students have 3 or 4. Here, you're going to break that research question down into more specific questions that help you address the topic as a whole. Now, here's an example. I wrote my PhD on high frequency trading, so let's imagine I'm going to write my master's thesis on high frequency trading. And you can pause the video and have a look at this example. I start with a very broad research question. How does HFT impact financial markets in the terms of liquidity, volatility, and efficiency? That's a very broad thing I want to look at. It has enough specificity that I can address that question precisely, but it's broad. I've then set myself 4 research objectives. These break the task down into more manageable chunks. It gives more detail. In my work, I'm going to set out, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm breaking it down to analyze the situation. And once you have the research question and the research objectives, you're going to take this and it's going to be transformed into the introduction section of your dissertation. At this point, I'm going to stop because I'm going to make another video which talks about the structure of your dissertation and what order you'll write your dissertation in.